Hey everyone, welcome back to John's Watch. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about a new game called Banishers: Ghosts of New Eden. This game was released on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC on February 13th, 2024. Its regular price is $69.99 Canadian, or your regional equivalent, and it's developed by Don't Nod, also known for the Life is Strange, the first Life is Strange game, and Vampire, and it's published by Focus Entertainment. So this is a game that had been on my radar for a little bit. It was on my Steam wishlist. Don't entirely remember where I saw it. Probably at some E3, games presentation show at some point. But it just looked so cool that I really wanted to have a go at it, and I've got a chance to do that thanks to Focus Entertainment. So at the time of recording, I've played for just over 2 hours, got through the prologue, got through a little bit further into the game, kind of got a feel for the game, but I can tell it's going to open up quite a bit more from where I've stopped playing. So I really feel like I've barely scratched the surface of the game, but I've got a good feel of what it's like. So I figured now was as good a time to do my video as any. So this game is set in North America in the year 1695. You play as the titular Banishers from the title. Kind of a weird title. It's a bit like of a word salad until you properly look at the game, and it becomes very obvious what the title means. The Banishers, you play as Banishers. What are you banishing? Ghosts in New Eden. New Eden is just the setting of the game. So if you just hear the title and don't look into it too much, it doesn't really make any sense. You don't really know what it means, but you play as Banishers who have to banish the ghosts in New Eden, pretty much. You play as the Scottish character Red McCraith, alongside his lover and fellow Banisher Antea Duarte. During the prologue, which is probably going to be most of the footage on screen in this video, you mostly play as Antea, but I don't think this is a spoiler. Like, in all the screenshots, you can see what's going on, and this happens very early in the game, but at the end of the prologue, Antea, who you've controlled for most of the prologue, is killed and becomes a ghost, which is very interesting dynamic since you're supposed to be a banisher and you're supposed to banish ghosts. So basically you play as a live Red McCraith, and you're accompanied by the ghost of Antea, your fellow banisher, and during the brief time, relatively, that you get to spend with Antea in the prologue, becomes very clear she despises ghosts. That's why she's a banisher. So it's very intriguing when she becomes a ghost herself, and due to reasons, she has to remain as a ghost for a little bit yet. So the two of you have to search for ways to liberate Antea from her newfound ghostdom. So the genre it's described as is an action RPG. It's a little bit more than that. It's kind of half action RPG, maybe more than half action RPG. We'll get into the combat in a little bit, but it's also combined with mystery solving, case solving, finding clues, putting together, like murder boards kind of thing. I'll have something on screen now to kind of demonstrate it, but you have to explore locations and discover hints that relate to the case you're trying to solve, and that will point you in the right direction ultimately. You also spend some of your time collecting resources, and you use these resources to upgrade your character's equipment and also to perform rituals associated with ghostly banishing. For example, in the prologue, when I was playing as Antea, I was in a cemetery, and I had to gather materials so I could watch a replay of what happened in the cemetery. So I had to find the materials for that, and I also had to perform another ritual to summon a ghost, so I had to have the right materials for that as well. And so the combat, described as action RPG, it is basically Souls-like combat, and I absolutely love it. It's mapped to the Dark Souls key bindings. B is roll, just tapping B once is a dash, double tapping it makes you roll. Your light attack is on right bumper, your heavy attack's on right trigger, your parry is on, I think that one's on left bumper, which is close enough to left trigger that I don't mind. Your heal is on X, literally exactly like Dark Souls controls. I was so happy I didn't have to rebind anything. It felt so good to play. The combat's really fun. Like I said, it is basically Dark Souls combat, so I'm obviously going to like that a lot. Enemies, when they show up, have a health bar above their head, and they also have a number next to their health bar, which indicates their level. You also have your character has a level, and you just earn experience as you're playing the game, basically. Every time you level up, I'm level 3 at the time of recording this video, you get a skill point, which you can spend in the skill tree that I'll have on screen here. You get various different abilities. I'm assuming it's going to open up a bit more later, because I don't have a ton of skills to choose from here. But some of the skills you can get are, you can do ghostly combos, where after you do, I think it's 3 light attacks, Antea will chime in with a ghostly attack for the 4th attack, which is very cool. You can also unlock more healing slots through the skill tree. The setting is really cool. Like I said, it's set in North America in 1695. Reminds me a little bit of, God, what was that game? Greedfall, which was kind of also set during expansionist, frontierist times of North America. It looks like kind of America's been more established at this point in this game, but it's still a really interesting time period that I find very cool to explore and to play games in. So there's still a lot of unsettled wilds around, but you can come across small towns, small villages. They're just really cool to walk around these towns. Obviously, at this point, I've only walked around the main town of New Eden, but I loved it. I loved meeting the people there. You could talk to the characters there. They're all voiced really well. I think all the voice acting is excellent so far. It also gives me sort of the Witcher 3 vibes. Not sure how accurate that is, but there's a lot of supernatural stuff. You're playing as a banisher whose job it is to banish supernatural things. You upgrade your character, you upgrade your equipment, you scavenge for materials and stuff like that. Definitely not dissimilar to The Witcher 3, I'd say. I think this is very much a AA title, and honestly, I think in a lot of ways, AA titles are the best ones to go for at this point. They're not quite as polished as AAA titles, but they're also cheaper than AAA titles. It's a little bit janky sometimes, just like a tiny bit. Just sometimes like the movement doesn't feel quite as smooth as like Elden Ring, for example. But like FromSoft are the kings, obviously, of Souls-like combat and movement. So the fact that Don't Nod could, this is their first kind of Souls-like game. I wouldn't really call it a Souls-like at all, but it's a game with Souls-like combat. The fact that they managed to do the combat as well as they did is really very impressive. And as someone with like 1,000 hours in Souls-like games, probably more than 1,000 if you count all Souls-likes, I found it very, very playable. The combat felt good enough, and it's fun. It's just fun combat. It's got, I think it was 5 different difficulty settings. So you can, if you're not huge on Souls-like combat, you can definitely still enjoy this game. It's even got like story difficulty, where like the combat just won't be a challenge, and it goes all the way up to very hard if you mostly want to focus on the combat. Like I mentioned, this is developed by Don't Nod. They're kind of known for story, narrative-driven games where choices have consequences. I haven't encountered any major choices in my playthrough so far, but I'm not very far in. But if you take a look at the Steam page, there's a screenshot there where it's got like a choice of, do you want to spare or banish these people, something like that. So you'll definitely have some choices to make during the course of the game. And the review guide I was given say that your choices do carry substantial consequences that must be taken seriously. So if you like story-driven games where your choices matter, but you wanted a little bit of ghost hunting and mystery solving and a bunch of Dark Souls combat, man, this is the game for you. I don't think there's any other game that does all of that. Graphically, it seems to work great. The whole time I played it, I was actually streaming it to my Steam link, so I wasn't like monitoring FPS like I normally do, but I didn't notice any drops when I was streaming it. I noticed that the lip sync was occasionally a bit out of sync, and I'm thinking that's probably just because, like I said, I was streaming it. I'm streaming it over Ethernet, but you still think you're probably losing a little bit of fidelity when you're streaming a game. But yeah, graphics were great. It definitely played at least 60 FPS. It's got DLSS and FSR 2.0. I think it was 2.0. I didn't use it, I just used DLSS. So it's got upscaling, depending on your graphics card, which is great. It's got some good graphics settings. I was able to disable motion blur like I always like to do. I'm honestly really, really impressed with this game so far. I'm definitely going to be playing a lot more of this. It says, the review guide I have says that a playthrough will take 20 to 25 hours. How long to beat says 30 hours for the main story. I'm guessing it's, probably somewhere in the middle, so I think probably about 25 hours is a pretty good estimate for how long this game would take to beat the main story, which I think sounds like a perfect length. It's long enough that you're getting your money's worth, but it's not an 80-hour experience that you're not going to play anything else for ages. So yes, I will definitely be going back to this. Just have to finish, speaking of 80-hour experiences, Persona 3 Reload first. I'm trying not to play anything else while I'm in the middle of that. But I will definitely, before the end of the year, have finished Banishers Ghosts of New Eden, I'm sure. Let me know if you have any thoughts on the game, if you've played it yourself. Love to hear from people who are maybe a little bit further than I was, but I thought I was at a good enough point to talk about it, and it's super, super promising so far. Thank you guys very much for watching. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!